Hello. Oh my goodness. What a what a Monday over here. I feel like I was just talking to y'all, like, because I was like 2 weeks ago about like, oh yeah, getting prepped for the hurricane. Now we are in fact getting prepped for another hurricane. This one looks pretty concerning, so that is not fun. But hopefully all will be well. We are not in an evacuation zone, like we're in enough. So that part is, on our side. And um, we have a generator, we're on a well, like we're, set up well in terms of all that. But definitely it has been a Monday over here trying to prep, communicate with work stuff, client stuff, get our house ready, get friends ready. We have a lot of friends coming to stay with us. So it has just been a Monday over here. But hopefully all will be well. But it is definitely, looking a little scary over Tampa St. Pete here. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Laura. Um, so anyway, if I bring slightly chaotic energy today, because I'm in slightly chaotic energy. But hopefully that won't translate. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Shannon. I know it's freaking bananas. Thanks, Steph. Um, yeah, but anyway, just wanted to preface that. I have slightly chaotic energy too, so we'll be a good combo. Okay, great, Michelle. Perfect. um, yeah, this week has been crazy because I was supposed to go to a retreat at the end of the week, and it was like I was like changing my flights and hotel rooms for that because it got changed by one day because it was in Miami and then it got canceled. So then we were like canceling all that. It's just been like logistics. So that should resolve itself, and then hopefully, we'll be okay for the storm and go from there. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about today. What I'm here to talk to you about today is 4 things I think are making a big difference right now that you could focus on in Q4 for bigger, better results. Yeah, same, Michelle. I hate that it got canceled, but it's definitely the right move. Agree. Like, so bummed, and also for sure, the right call. So agree. Hey Ray, excited for this. Have lots of ideas for Q4. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to share with you kind of like 4 concepts, strategies, things that I think will matter. Obviously, these are not all inclusive of everything that you could possibly be focusing on or that would matter in Q4 and or personalize to your business. So take them, put that in mind. But I think it is really helpful. Like I wrote that in the email about that I said about this is like, I just feel like this is always my quarter. This is always my season. I'm like, this is my time. And so I don't know if a lot of y'all have that energy, but I feel like it's always helpful to just be like, okay, what is the focus? I think sometimes we do that for the year and forget to do that for the quarter. I think especially in our world, in our industry, this is always can be like a really exciting quarter for people because people are thinking about like, how are they ending the year? What are they doing to start the year? All of that kind of stuff. So let us dive in. Oh, and I didn't say what the giveaway is today. So $100 gift card for showing up, saying hi, as a way to say thank you for being here and for listening to me today. I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter for the aforementioned issues, but still so grateful to you for coming, listening to me chat. So let's dive in. The first thing, I feel like all of these are so obvious. You guys know, like so much of my shit, I think falls under the like should be obvious, but is not always obvious category. And I think this is definitely some of that. But the first thing is like build relationships and know how to capture attention. Lacey and short's a new combo for me. Girl, me too. I mean, we'll see. I say that and then I'm like, it's gonna be like 150, but we'll see. I do actually need to like call the airline. So, you know, someone kick me off. But this one, again, obvious, not obvious. Like I think that so often in business, sometimes we get so back end focused. We're like, oh, I need to set up new systems or strategies or processes. I need to work on this. I need to rebuild my offer. I need to like, there are all these things that pull our attention sometimes. And obviously sometimes we do need to rebuild the offer, whatever, but honestly, it's usually so much less than most people think. And it pulls our attention away from like the thing that is the lifeblood of our business, which is relationships and being able to like captivate, command, garner attention, right? And you don't mean attention in the like, look at me kind of way, but it's like, if I have a service to sell, I need to have a way to reliably get that in front of people. And I need a way to reliably get their attention around that, right? And if I don't have that, I'm putting myself in a difficult position. Then I could spend all this time working on the back end. And when whatever back end work I've been doing is done, I'm not going to have the people there waiting for it. And so I think there is nothing more important than this from a sustainability place in your business is to absolutely know that you have a reliable way to build relationships and like create attention. Again, I kind of like hate saying it in that way to a certain extent because I feel like it can feel like you're supposed to be like a dancing monkey being like, give me attention. But the truth is our industry is more saturated than ever. The online space is more saturated than ever. And people have to want to connect with you, want to engage with you, want to give you their precious attention. I mean, even this, like, that's why we always do a gift card for these live streams. Like, I want a way to say, thank you for giving me your attention. Thank you for spending time listening to what I have to say, because I realize how meaningful and valuable that is for my business. I realize how meaningful and valuable that is for my business, not this month, but like the next year. You know what I mean? So that's why we try to like acknowledge and name that, because it is such an important thing. And I think a lot of people miss this part. They're so worried about like getting the right offer, the right structure, the right insert thing, right system, right automation, that they forget that nothing is more important than the potential customer that is sitting there waiting to find you, interact with you, engage with you. So if you're going to do one thing well in Q4, that's going to set you up for not only success in Q4, but success in all of next year. Like that has to be it. And if you're sitting here being like, I don't have that right now, that's what I would encourage you to dive into. And if you're sitting here going, I have that check, pay attention to that. Keep on that, like keep paying attention to like what's working there for me, what's feeling good, what's getting results, what's not, like iterate that, you know, and really like invest and spend your time there. Like when you can really say, I know how to reliably generate interest, attention, and relationships, you are in such a good place in your business, right? When you don't know how to do that, business is going to feel more tough. I see that with clients all the time. Like if that part is working in a client's business, the rest is relatively easy. If that part is not unlocked and working in a client's business, everything else feels hard too. Like it's not like the automations then feel great or something, right? Because like there's nothing flowing through them or there's nothing meaningful coming in there. So just remember, like this is everything. Hey, Natalie said I can totally relate to this. Yeah. And I think what's hard about it is this is the stretchy part for a lot of us. Like, again, even when I say like have a way to capture attention, command attention, whatever, I think a lot of people are like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, that's not the most natural or comfortable part. So just wanting to like name and remind you of that, like why we so often tend to like go behind the scenes is because that's where we feel a greater level of like comfort. And so really having ways to push yourself, to hold yourself to that, to get support around that, to get support around putting yourself out there, getting visible in a bigger way, that kind of thing is so valuable, because the truth is like the space is only getting more saturated. The online space is only getting more saturated. Like we can see this on Instagram all the time, right? It's like your content has to be better and better and better than it ever was. And I think, if some of us, can feel really frustrated and hate that, but it's also the game, so if that's the game you want to play, it's a thing and it has to take effort and energy and all of that. When I started, when did I start? 2017, I think. 16, 17. I don't even fucking know. Like you just, it wasn't as saturated. Attention wasn't at such a premium. And so like it mattered, and you still had to be able to build relationships and had to be able to maintain attention. It was just a bit different. And so anyway, now having that is everything. Like if you're like, I want to open this next program, or I want to launch this next offer, the most critical element of that isn't what is the offer, it's who's ready to buy it from you. You know what I mean? So that is number one. That's what's going to set you up for a Q4 that feels good. That's what's going to make you feel powerful in your business, because you're going to know that you truly have an audience that's waiting to buy something from you. That is what's going to make you feel like your 2025 is in a good place. Like, please focus there. Again, easier said than done, I know sometimes, but it is everything to your success. Lacey said, I've definitely learned that the hard way over the years. Need a warm audience. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we've all learned that over the years in different ways. Like if you've been in business any length of time, that's a lesson we all have to learn. So I totally agree with that, Lacey. And like, again, I just think it's easy to think, well, if I just had the right offer, and if my messaging just hits or whatever, then da, da, da. And it's not that. It's like, if I have the warm audience, if I have the people waiting, that's when it gets good. So that's number one. Number two is kind of along the same line, but I've really just seen this with clients so much this year, which is like, focus on tried and true offers and don't feel like you have to keep rebuilding over and over again. I'd love a live going more into that maybe. Okay, yeah, I would love to do that. That's a great one. Thank you, Lacey. I'm gonna make a note. Live on. Okay. Yeah, so tried and true offers. Like I've really seen that with clients so much this year, of like, it's not that you can never launch a new offer, but what I think a lot of people do is like, if a certain offer is not working perfectly, they're like, what other offer can I launch? Like, I think so often we think it's the offer, it's the offer, it's the offer. And what I really see a lot with my clients is like, it's being willing to refine an offer. It's being willing to be on the fifth launch of an offer. It's being willing to go deep with an offer and test it and make it better and better, and like leverage those results and testimonials again and again, and like really become an expert at that offer. I think when there's always something new, you almost are constantly at the mercy of like reinventing the wheel, instead of being like, I have something that I know sells well. I know my audience has an appetite for. I know they've heard of before. I know there's warm up to. Like, that is so freaking valuable. Hi, Anita. Good to see you. Natalie said I can definitely get stuck in the comfort zone of doing back end stuff and tweaking offers for sure. I mean, like, who can't truly? Like, I think that it is so easy. Yes, relaunching your signature offer. Heck yeah, same old. I mean, truly, I've seen that so much this year. And I've also seen it with clients who, I had one client who had a pretty significant, like we'll say, health crisis challenge this year. I'm just trying to be non-specific. And like, she had an offer that she could really lean on. She didn't have to like go build a new course or something. She was like, okay, I need time and space for my healing. I'm just going to sell this offer. That's it. I've had so many clients go on maternity leave this year, and for literally every single one of them, basically we've leaned on like, what are your tried, tested like offers that you've had in your business for a long time? Like, what are those things that, are tried, true, tested, have testimonials behind them, there's an appetite for, your audience has heard about. Like, that helps so much, because you're not having to rebuild for the audience of like, oh, let me teach them all about this new offer. You're not having to rebuild for you, i.e., let me write a new sales page, create new copy, create an entirely new messaging, create a new funnel, create a new warm-up event. I mean, I could go on and on, right? Yeah, I did creating a zillion offers, a zillion new offers, no space, energy for that. I mean, I agree. And I think what's so funny about that is, obviously, of course, it's harder for us as business owners to like to create all of that so much. But if we find it overwhelming, I fucking guarantee our audiences do too. If we're like, oh my gosh, wait, what am I saying? What am I launching this week? I guarantee your audience is like, what is she saying? What is she launching this week? You know? Um, and unless you have like a massive audience where there's such an appetite for something new always, it's working against you because you're expanding your offers and your capacity more than you're expanding the audience to match that capacity. So kind of on the first point, right? It's like obviously if your audience is massively expanding, you may need to expand the capacity of your offers and rework things. But if your audience is growing and building over time, like you should have a tried and true offer that you can funnel them through without always having to reinvent, always having to create something new. It's like so much, you know? Um, and like, oh, I was saying the maternity leave thing. So many of my clients had maternity leave this year. And it's like all of them had consistency and income across that and had planned income when they came back. And like it would have been so hard for us to execute and do that if it wasn't for tried and true offers. If their audience wasn't already like, ooh, I know I want that from her. I've heard about that, or that has really good testimonials associated or whatever. So again, it doesn't mean you can never launch something new, but if you're doing that instead of really focusing on these tried and true offers and knowing what works there, you're just working against yourself. Ray said I'm launching a new offer this quarter, but I'm going to go back and mine content from previous launches to avoid needing to start from scratch. Yeah, totally. And also like, you know, uh, like on the tried and true part, like maybe this is your new tried and true one. Like sometimes we all have to start with a new tried and true one. Like every tried and true offer started at the beginning. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, but start with that in mind is also something I would say. Like, you know, I think I had a client going through this recently. She wanted to like launch something new. And I was like, yeah, I hear you. And I hear how you just like want to get this out really quickly. And also like, I really want to encourage you to put like enough thought, energy, and effort into this, that this is something you would want to launch again and again, because if it's not, why bother doing it the first time? And so I think that's something to give ourselves too, is like, if I can't say like I want this to be a tried and true offer in my business, then maybe it's not the best thing for me to be launching right now. Again, all amazing offers start with a first launch. It's just like, do you want this to be a first launch or do you want it to be an only launch, is something important to think about there too. Obviously, right, I'm not saying this to you, just talking about it in general, but you gave me some feedback for that in terms of that. Rebecca said work hard once, then repeat. Right. That's like really what we're trying to do. And this is how I think we cultivate thought leadership and expertise too, because we're like, this really is a good offer. I'm not like throwing out my shit constantly and putting new things out. I'm like, this is really good. This actually is the answer for you. And I think that that is how we cultivate a sense of trust in an industry that has a trust problem, you know? If you don't trust your own offers enough to launch them multiple times, like how can someone trust you to buy them, is honestly how I would think about it. Again, I think that sometimes there's like excitement with that, and your audience is like, oh, fun, a new thing, but like, I don't know, trust is that same thing, right? Natalie said to use polls and surveys from existing or previous clients to help you know what your audience needs, wants. Yeah, totally. As much as you can, survey them, ask them questions. Especially people that have bought from you, like know them intimately, survey them, ask them things. Like in Dateable, we made a change recently where we really changed up how we deliver, measure, and maximize, because a lot of our new customer surveys and our like long-term customers, when we surveyed them, like it told us like, oh, they actually want a little bit less and not more. And so we really reworked a lot of stuff around that. And that's not something Jen or I would have naturally gravitated toward, I guess, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously, I know less is more. But like sometimes you just can't see the forest through the trees in your own shit. And so when I was able to see it on surveys of like, oh, they don't need all this. They don't actually need this part either. They're mostly gravitating toward this part or whatever. It was so helpful and very, very informative. Shannon said it, an industry that has a trust problem. So true. Yeah, right. So like you kind of have to bridge that gap for them. And one of the great ways to do that is tried and true offers. Like if you're launching the same offer multiple times, I see you talking about it a lot. I see the energy behind it. I see the testimonials behind it, blah, blah, blah. Like that makes it easy. Like people are always like, oh my God, how do you have such a big wait list? I'm like, this is the only offer I've focused on for basically, 7 years. Like, yeah, like I'm not saying that like that's the right way to do it, but it's like kind of obvious in a sense, like why that works for me. Um, Again, I'm not saying someone should just have one offer and focus on that for 7 years. I'm just trying to illustrate like it's easy to like build out a wait list when like that's the only thing you're focused on or talking about for a really long time. Of course, if someone's launching a new program every 3 months, like they're not going to have a wait list like that. They're not going to have that same level of trust and stability around one offer. So anyway, tried and true offers are where it's at for the end of this year. If you want to make quick cash, go to your tried and true offers. And then into next year, like you want to set yourself up for success. Make sure you have an offer that's trust building with your audience, where you can really show and document case studies, results, things like that, and that you can really pour into, because that will make such a difference for you in your marketing, your results, all of it. Okay, next thing is think long term. Again, probably falls in the under the category of should be obvious, but isn't. Wait, let's see what Rebecca said. You said something about selling one offer to capacity in your study masterclass, and that gave me so much permission to simplify and double down on one thing. Yes, I love that. Exactly that, Rebecca. It's like, why are we expanding capacity if we're not filling current capacity? And so if we can sell one offer to capacity, then of course it makes sense to expand. But if we're never hitting capacity on the offer we want to sell, spending that energy expanding and creating new offers instead of spending that energy perfecting our sales process and our marketing, it's a waste. So anyway, I'm so glad that was helpful for you. Hey, Katrina, good to see you working on case studies now. Good, good, good. So anyway, in terms of think long term, I think that what can happen at this time of year sometimes, and I feel like I'm always towing the line on these conversations with clients and stuff too, is we can both want to like sprint to the finish line of the year. Like I have a couple of clients that are close to hitting their first $1 million year. And it's like, there's a part of them that like wants to just fucking sprint that out. They're like, okay, like whatever, let's just do what we need to do to hit that number by the end of the year, which makes sense. It's so exciting. It's so invigorating. It's so huge. I mean, that is like such a massive fucking milestone, right? Like it completely makes sense. Nothing about that doesn't make sense. And sometimes that can really hurt us because sorry, I'm so freaking hot. I have to like turn down my AC. Oh, that's why I'm so hot. Okay, great. It's 77 in my office. It's a little toasty. That can sometimes work against us too, because we're doing all these things for like what brings in short-term cash versus like what scales the business long-term. And so there's always like a balance there of like, yes, what does it look like to like sprint for our goals? And does any of that work against us long term? Are we making our lives harder? Are we making it so that next year it's even harder to replicate this? Or are we like leading toward that? And so obviously there's always a balance to strike, and like it totally depends on the person, the business, all of those things. But at the end of the day, having a long-term mindset is like the most helpful thing I know of if you want long-term results, right? Like if you want to not just have $1 million business one year, but have a business that makes at or close to that every year, sometimes those are very different decisions, right? Love that thought about replication. Yes. Sometimes those are just different decisions. And so it doesn't mean you always have to make the long-term decision 100% of the time, but you at least have to know the trade-offs with not making it. Like, okay, I'm making this decision to do a quick goal sprint for the end of the year, and what I'm giving up is probably more income in Q1 of next year. Do I want to make that adjustment? Or like what I'm giving up is like the ability to launch in January again, because I'm actually launching in November instead of whatever. I'm just making this stuff up, right? But like the point is there's usually a trade-off associated with that. Oh, first time you made it live. Welcome, Ari. I hope I'm saying that right, Ari. Thank you so much for being here. We do a thing where if somebody comments, you're entered to win a $100 gift card. So thank you for being here and commenting. But anyway, if if we aren't aware of the trade-offs of that, that's when it gets frustrating. If we're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it this year. I'm gonna take that extra launch this year. And if that means I have to slow down a little in January, that's fine. It feels okay for me. That's great. But know that that's the plan, or know that that's what's happening. One of my clients kind of recently went through this, where it was basically like she wanted to make a lot of like long-term like decisions, or like investments into like long-term stability in her business. And we knew that if she did that, we would have to skip a launch, and she would probably have like a pretty big dip in income, so that she had time to do these other things that were really, really, really supportive for her long term. But it meant like you're probably going to have to take an income hit in the short term to make all of this happen and get yourself set up for that. Do you want to do that? And she thought about it really intentionally and was like, yes, I really want to do that. And so she did it. And then she had her lowest month for one of those months that she's had in like probably 2 years in business. And I'm not saying it wasn't still a mindfuck, because of course it's still a mindfuck no matter what, but she knew that was like an intentional choice. She knew she was thinking long term. She knew she was building for something bigger. And then like, of course, a month after that, she has like her biggest month. But it's like she had to be okay with like, I'm willing to take some short-term trade-offs to build for what I want long term. And I feel like that's where sometimes we go wrong in these kind of scenarios, is one, we're not thinking long term, and two, we're not willing to take any trade-offs around it. You know, we're like just thinking short term, and like we're only building for long term if it means no short-term trade-offs. And like most of the time business doesn't work like that. Natalie said, I love how logical you are with the decisions that you help clients make. Thank you. I appreciate that. But you know, like I just think nobody's talking about these things. Like I feel like nobody's saying to you, hey, if you want to make a long-term decision in your business, sometimes that means a short-term trade-off. Like I don't know why nobody's saying that. Probably because it's not sexy marketing. Maybe if I had a different business model, I wouldn't be saying that either. I don't know. I probably couldn't help myself. But the point is, I think it is so real. These are the decisions of CEOs. This is what it looks like. And I'm not saying it's always such a sacrifice, but I am saying like, yeah, sometimes if you're like, I want to spend all of my time focused on this project that's probably not going to yield me a result for 3 months, then yeah, I have to give up something this month. Like, just seems obvious, right? Yeah, Katrina said it's so obvious, but yeah, it's not sexy. Totally, exactly. I feel like that's my business marketing typically falls under the not sexy camp. But I'll take it. So anyway, think long term. Again, it doesn't mean you can't ever short term sprint for something, but you're doing it knowing what trade-offs you're making, and or you're thinking long term and you're doing it knowing like, okay, that might mean a short term trade-off right now, and that can be okay. Yeah, Christina said people don't say it because it doesn't sell. Everyone wants get rich quick and easy. 100%. I think that's so true. And I think like what's hard is our industry keeps being this like self-perpetuating vehicle of that. It's like people want quick and easy, so then everyone sells quick and easy. And then it's not as quick and easy as they think. So then they go buy the next thing where someone's selling quick and easy. It's like this whole cyclical thing. You want to make long-term decisions on your business. Brilliant. Yes, totally. Love your non-sexy insights. Thank you. I feel like I don't know if I meant to step into the not sexy brand, but somehow we have. Maybe I need to do like lingerie pictures alongside not sexy messaging and see how that lands. No, but seriously, I really do think it's like such an interesting thing to be like, yeah, thinking long-term, making long-term decisions does sometimes mean short-term trade-offs. That can be okay. So like in Q4, I feel like that's always really, really important. It's like, hey, if we're doing that now, what does that look like for next year versus just like, what does it look like to get what I want by the end of this quarter? Again, that can totally be it, but like there's nuance there. Sexy results though, Rebecca, yes. Not everything has to be about hype, sexy, hot. Isn't that the truth? Okay. And then the last one, again, probably obvious. Also, no one talks about, also not sexy. So we're on a roll today, is track your data. I mean, again, obviously coming from me, you guys know that, but I think that so few entrepreneurs are actually looking at their data and are actually tracking it and are actually making decisions based off that. And like, that is the best piece of information for both short-term and long-term decisions. So if you want to be set up well in 2025, start tracking your data in 2024, like don't wait until you're into 2025 and being like, oh, it would be great if I knew XYZ in my business. Like, no, ask your business and track the data for that in 2024 so that you are well set up for 2025. Do it in 2024 so that you know you're going to nail your January launch or whatever. But if you're not doing that now, you are behind the eight ball. Like data is not typically something that is easy to pull retroactively like that, especially if you want it automated. It is almost always something that you have to be pulling in the moment. I feel sexy in my biz, but also grounded and safe. I mean, truly, like the grounded and safe part is what's up. There is so much online that is hype with nothing substantial behind it. Straight up, honest, non-sexy is very needed, I think. I agree, Natalie. Thank you. Sarah, LOL at me fearing data. It's literally what I need coached on the most. We track. Not admin tracks, but I don't look at it often. How I made it this far is a miracle. I love you, Sarah, and thank you for your transparency there. But also I think about that with businesses sometimes. I'm like, well, if you've made it here without looking at fucking any of your data, imagine what you could do with that. If you don't feel like you have to, like literally no pressure, but if you want to tell me what you mean when you say like fearing data, I would love to talk about that more. But again, like totally no pressure to type that out here either. Tracking data is so necessary. And if you share it, be truthful and provide context. Right. Right. That's another one. It's funny that you say that, Katrina, because at Dateable, sometimes I think, oh, we should share so much more of our data, but to do that responsibly is actually quite a significant amount of work. So I agree with you. Like, I do think like it would probably be helpful if we were all sharing on that more, but also to like do that with like full truth, full context is actually like a pretty big lift, truthfully. I'm sure you know that too. And is why you're saying it, but it's interesting to think about it like that. I think about that so much where I'm like, oh, if we could just share more. And then I'm like, oh my God, the amount of shit I would have to like share behind that feels so arduous. Sometimes it's like really interesting. Yes, you said, yeah. I remember you did, Katrina, do you remember that thing that you did last year? I think you did it in December of last year where you did like a whole carousel on data from your business. I wonder if maybe we can go back and find that. I could have Crystal look, or I can go look later, but that was so fucking good. And I loved how you did that. Yeah, I think it was like a data recap, right? It was so good. I think you did it in like 3 parts, maybe. Um, 3 parts? I don't know. You tell me. I think it was 3. But anyway, loved that. But I'm sure that took like a significant amount of time to put together from like a responsible lens. Michelle, if you need to call the airline, it's time to wrap up soon. Love someone who doesn't do short either. Okay, I'm going to wrap up. And I needed that. I really needed that. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, Behind the Business is a 3-part series of marketing, client, mental health. That was so good, Katrina. Yes. A friend last year did a data recap on IG Spotify rep. So, ooh, that sounds good too, Sarah. But yeah, like, I think that the thing is like, data is like something that provides so much content there too, which is like interesting, but obviously it's like a lift too. But the point is like, most people at this time of year are planning for next year. And what I always find so interesting about that is they're not making decisions based off of anything other than like how this year felt. And obviously how this year felt is like huge. Like you need to feel good as a CEO. You want to feel good in your business. Like that is a marker to look at. But if you're not also looking at that aside from like, what is just the practical data say? Did this program work or did this not? Is this marketing effort yielding results? Is it not? Does this task that you're paying someone to do get you clients? Does it not? Like all of that is so relevant and so neutralizing. Like anytime someone's like, I want to get better results, I'm like, great. Are you looking at your data? Because if you don't have that lens that's keeping things more neutral, you are going to make every decision from emotion and reactivity. And sometimes that takes us somewhere really good. And sometimes it takes us somewhere really bad. It's mostly a crapshoot. And so looking at your data is like one of the singular things that's going to get you the best results, but it supports everything else I said too. It's what's going to help you think long-term and actually look at it logically and know the trade-offs. It's what's going to help you have tried and true offers because you're actually studying what's working and what's not there and able to lean into it. And it's what helps you capture attention because you know what's working there. You're like, oh yeah, I actually get attention here and I see it translate into more views to my sales page. And then I see that convert better and you can literally track that effort. You guys know I've been focused on Instagram for almost a year now. And people have often asked me as I've like kind of undergone that like focus shift, like, how are you so consistent at that? Although I say that as I said to my team this morning, I have no content for this week and probably won't, but generally I'm very consistent. We'll blame the hurricane, but my answer is I just see it working. Like I just see like the trajectory of like how that gets us more waitlist signups and how we get more landing page views and all of that kind of stuff. And it's just so easy to maintain it when I can so neutrally see that it works. And it would be so hard to maintain it if I couldn't see that. So anyway, data. Katrina says it has to be data, strategy, logic, and what feels good. You can't only do one. And I feel like most people do either or. Right. Yeah. Like they look at the data and they're like, oh, well, the data says I should do this thing I hate. So I guess I will. Right. Or the opposite. Like I'm just reacting off of feeling with no support from the data and it's making everything chaos. So those are my things. Again, nothing revolutionary, but like also will make a really big difference. Like build those relationships, have a reliable way to create attention and focus on your tried and true offers. Do not keep rebuilding. Think super long-term, be willing to make short-term trade-offs occasionally and track your data. Like if those are your 4 focal points for Q4, I fucking guarantee you're going to make more money. And I also guarantee you're going to make more money in 2025. Like it is kind of that simple. Always harder in process, but simple. And now I shall be done because Michelle told me I need to call the airport now, and she is correct. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being with my mildly chaotic energy today. I hope this was helpful. I so appreciate you guys. Again, on that note of like being able to build relationships and have someone give you their attention, it like truly means so fucking much to me that you guys come each week and talk to me and engage with me. Like I really cannot tell you how much that means to me. So thank you. I love you all. I hope you have a beautiful week. Wish us luck and I will see you next week. Bye y'all.